Welcome. Today we're going to share some really unsettling stories surrounding a particular road in southern Thailand.
That's right. We're talking about Highway 44, the Southern Seaboard Road that runs between Surat Thani and Krabi. It has quite a reputation.
Yeah, a chilling one. We've got some very detailed source material, actually, sent in by a listener. It compiles personal experiences and local legends, all focused on this one highway.
So our plan today is really to unpack these stories you've shared with us, try to understand why this specific road feels so notorious.
Exactly, and pull out the key moments, the really chilling details that make these accounts stick with you.
Okay, so let's start with the road itself. What's it like, based on the descriptions?
Well, it's described as incredibly long and straight, very wide, two multiple lanes going each way.
But the conditions, especially thinking back maybe 9 or 10 years ago, like in the main story, that's where it gets interesting.
Right. Picture driving it at night. The accounts say it was pitch black, almost no lights.
And hardly any gas stations, maybe none back then.
Yeah.
Just darkness.
And adding to that feeling is the landscape. There's a big median, a wide central reservation, but it's not just grass. It's often filled with palm trees, rubber plantations.
Dense vegetation.
Yeah.
And the same kind of thick jungle or plantations line the sides of the road too.
Yeah, exactly. So you're driving down this wide, straight road, but you're sort of walled in by darkness and trees on all sides, and in the middle.
Creates a real feeling of isolation, doesn't it? Miles of straight road, dark forest. It's easy to see why locals apparently call it Wang Wang.
Which means lonely, desolate, scary at night.
Yeah. And you'd think a big, wide road would be busy, but apparently not, especially after dark. Very little traffic.
That combination, the geography, and just the lack of other people, it really seems to amplify that eerie feeling.
And it seems like that isolation is, well, fertile ground for these kinds of stories. We're told this road is just notorious for creepy encounters.
It's not just one story either, is it? The source material stresses it's like countless different accounts from different people, all terrifying, all happening on this road. It's described as almost never ending.
Yeah, like an endless supply of scary stories. It's really quite something.
The sheer number of them and how varied they are. It's led to this road being considered apparently one of the most haunted in all of Thailand. That's a pretty serious reputation.
Definitely. And it seems to dominate how people see it. The source mentioned that if you search online for the road name, you don't get tourist spots or nice views. You mostly get ghost stories. Hauntings. That's what defines it online.
Wow. It really makes you wonder, how does a place get so strongly linked with the paranormal? Is it the road itself, the history, or just people sharing stories?
It's usually a mix, I think. And personal stories are often the most powerful part. Which brings us to the main account you shared about Kun Nut and his friend Kit.
Right. This is the core story. Happened about 9 or 10 years ago. They were just high school kids back then.
So they were heading home late, maybe 7 or 8 p.m. on a motorbike. They'd been on a school trip to Krabi and were going back towards Surat Thani.
And their route home. It took them right onto this Southern Seaboard Road, Highway 44.
Just try and imagine that. Teenagers on a motorbike, night falling on this long, straight, dark road.
That endless blacktop stretching out with just that wall of dark trees on either side.
The lack of other cars, the poor light. You'd feel pretty vulnerable, wouldn't you? Constantly looking over your shoulder, probably.
Definitely wary. So they're getting closer to the turnoff for their village. And to get there, they need to make a U-turn across that wide median strip.
And this specific spot is apparently known locally as U-turn 2.
Yeah, and as they're approaching this U-turn 2, they see something up ahead. A big truck, like a 10-wheeler, parked near a roadside shelter.
Okay, and this shelter, the source describes it quite vividly, like a concrete rest stop building.
Kind of. Concrete, gabled roof, but really run down. Covered in moss, stains. Looks dark and unwelcoming, especially at night. And it's apparently quite close to a village entrance. Got it. So they see the truck and the shelter.
And initially, they saw some flashing lights near the truck. So their first thought was, oh, maybe it's a police checkpoint.
Makes sense. So they slowed down, moved over to the right, ready to stop if needed.
But then as they got a bit closer, the lights just stopped, disappeared. And they couldn't see any traffic cones, no police officers.
So probably a moment of relief then.
Yeah.
Like, okay, false alarm.
Yeah, exactly. Relief. They figured they'd just ride slowly past the truck and the shelter.
And this is where it happens.
This is the moment. As they're riding right alongside that dark, dilapidated shelter, Kunat gets this sudden, really strong urge, just an impulse to look inside.
Oh, wow. And he did.
He did. Turned his head, looked straight into the shelter. and he saw someone standing there. The description is just incredibly clear. A man, dressed in a civil servant's khaki uniform.
Right.
But he didn't have a head.
Oh, jeez. Headless. Completely headless. And the figure wasn't just static. It was standing still at first. But as they rode past, its torso slowly started to twist, turning towards them, as if it was watching them pass.
Watching them! Without eyes! That's deeply unsettling.
And the source really emphasizes how clear it was. Not some blurry shape. It was like, quote, someone shone a spotlight on it, just perfectly visible in the darkness.
I can't even imagine the terror. What did Kunat do?
He said he was just overcome with this intense fear. Instantly. His hands started shaking uncontrollably, almost lost his grip on the motorbike handlebars. He described it as the most scared he'd ever been in his life.
I believe it. Just pure panic.
Absolutely. So, fueled by terror, he gunned it, sped past the shelter, just trying to get away as fast as possible.
Right. Put distance between them and that.
But you know how it is sometimes. Even when you're terrified, there's that awful compulsion to check. After they'd gone a little way down the road, he glanced into his side mirror.
Oh no, don't tell me.
He saw it again. The headless figure.
Where was it now?
It wasn't in the shelter anymore. It was standing outside, on the roadside, right in front of where that 10-wheel truck was parked.
Oh man, okay. So what about Kit, his friend on the back? Did he see it too?
That was Kunat's next thought, once the absolute peak of panic started to slightly subside. He had to know. He asked Kit, did you see anything back there?
And Kit's reaction?
At first, just silence. But Kunat could tell he was shaking, really badly shaken up. His eyes were apparently welling up with tears.
Oh, okay.
So Kunat pressed him again, and finally Kit managed to answer, his voice trembling. He said yes, he saw it. He saw the headless ghost standing at the shelter, and then he saw it again by the roadside near the truck.
So they both saw the exact same thing. That confirmation must have been terrifying in itself.
Absolutely terrifying. Shared horror. Knowing it wasn't just his imagination. So now they were both convinced this thing was real, and maybe even following. They just rode as fast as that motorbike could possibly go. Didn't look back again. Just raced home.
I don't blame them. Just pure adrenaline and fear.
And the fear didn't just vanish when they got to Kunat's house. He realized, Kit still had to ride the rest of the way to his own house. Alone. On that same road.
Oh, right. That's awful.
So Kunat, still terrified himself, but worried for his friend, immediately ran inside, got a Buddha amulet from his father, and gave it to Kit, just hoping it would offer some kind of protection for the rest of his ride home.
Wow. That really shows how deeply the experience affected them. It wasn't just a fleeting scare.
Not at all. And what makes this whole account even more compelling, more disturbing perhaps, is how it connects with other stories. Other accounts about this exact same road and even this specific location.
All right, the source mentions his aunt, doesn't it, when she heard his story?
Yeah, she wasn't surprised. She basically confirmed the road's terrible reputation. And then she shared another story, an older one, but it was connected to the exact same spot that U-Turn 2 shelter.
Okay, what did she recount?
This happened even earlier, more than 10 years before Kunat's experience. It involves a Burmese man who worked tapping rubber trees. He was heading out to work really early, like 2 or 3 in the morning. And he also needed to use that U-turn too.
And he saw something too.
He saw something bizarre and horrifying. First, he saw what looked like a group of motorbikes coming towards him, riding fast. But as they got closer,
what?
They were headless motorbikes. Just bikes riding by themselves with no riders.
Headless motorbikes?
Yeah.
Seriously, that's wild.
It gets weirder. Following right behind the headless bikes was another motorbike, but this one was overloaded, crammed with figures.
Figures.
Like ghosts. Described as grotesque, ghost-like figures, horrifying appearances like mangled corpses. Some were apparently riding on top of each other, stacked up on shoulders.
Good grief. That sounds like something out of a nightmare.
And one specific detail the aunt mentioned from his account. One of the ghosts, described as looking like a child, apparently stuck out this incredibly long tongue and waved at the poor guy.
Oh, come on, waved at him. That's just adding insult to injury. What did he do?
What would you do? He was absolutely terrified. He just spun his motorbike around immediately and fled back home. Didn't go to work that morning.
Can't blame him one bit. So that same U-turn, same shelter area, decades apart, these incredibly frightening encounters.
Exactly. And there's another piece mentioned. Apparently a relative of Kunat, more recently, also claimed to have seen the same headless civil servant ghost on that road.
So the headless figure Kunat in Kitsaw, it's a recurring sighting.
It seems so, and it ties directly into the local folklore about that specific spot.
How so?
Well, the source states that people in the area believe that Ghost, the headless civil servant, is the spirit of a teacher who was murdered many years ago.
Murdered?
Yes, and whose body was supposedly dumped, abandoned right there at that shelter by U-Turn 2. It's apparently a well-known local crime case, even though it happened decades ago.
Wow. Okay, so that connects the specific ghost sighting to a specific dark historical event at that exact location.
Precisely. And it feeds into the road's broader grim reputation. Locals apparently say it's not uncommon for bodies to be dumped along that highway because it's so isolated, a place to hide evidence of crimes.
Jesus. So it's got this history, or at least reputation, as a dumping ground.
That's what the source suggests. And on top of that, it's also known for having a lot of accidents. Bad ones. Cars crashing off that long, straight road into the forest.
Right, you can imagine that happening easily on a dark, monotonous road.
And the source includes this really chilling claim that locals say deaths occur at every single U-turn along the Southern Seaboard Road. Not just U-Turn 2.
Every single one. That paints a really bleak picture.
It does. It suggests a road that's not just physically dark and lonely, but one that's sort of soaked in tragedy, alleged violence, and loss. This history, combined with the environment, it feels like the perfect recipe for these ghost stories to take root and just persist.
Yeah, a perfect storm, really. History, environment, and human fear feeding each other.
So let's just quickly summarize what these accounts tell us. Highway 44, the Southern Seaboard Road, has this incredibly strong, long-standing reputation for being haunted, especially at night.
And certain spots, like that U-Turn 2 and its creepy roadside shelter, seem to be real focal points for these terrifying experiences. They keep coming up.
And while the stories are varied, you've got headless motorbikes, these grotesque ghost riders, there's also this striking consistency with the headless civil servant ghost.
Right. Kunat and Kit's sighting aligns not only with more recent reports, but also directly with local legend, tying it back to a specific tragic crime from the area's past.
It really suggests this isn't just random spooky stuff happening. It points to a place where, according to these accounts, supernatural activity seems concentrated, maybe linked to its history of accidents and allegedly hidden crimes.
The sheer intensity of the stories, like Kunat's reaction, that visceral fear he described, it really hits home how impactful these experiences, or even just the stories themselves, can be.
It really leaves you thinking, doesn't it, about how a place's history, especially the dark parts, unsolved murders, bad accidents, violence, how that gets woven into the very fabric of the place.
Yeah, it shapes the legends, the atmosphere, maybe even what people experience when they pass through.
Does knowing about the alleged murder at that shelter make the ghost story seem more plausible? Or does the dark history just provide the perfect shadowy canvas for these terrifying stories to be painted onto, whether they're literal truth or folklore?
It definitely makes you consider the weight that history and reputation carry, and what it must actually feel like to drive down a road like that, knowing all these stories.
Well, we hope sharing these accounts of Highway 44 has given you something to think about, that collision of place, history, and chilling legend.
And if you're interested in more unsettling accounts and explorations like this, do remember to check out Bamilat Horror Docs. Please like, share, and subscribe to stay updated.
Until our next deep dive, please travel safely out there, and maybe spare a thought for the roads you travel and the stories they might hold.
Goodbye for now.